You know, we spend our entire lives building things. We build careers, we build families, and most of all, we build a home. We're told that our home is our castle, our ultimate sanctuary. But what happens when that sanctuary begins to feel like a cage? What happens when the stairs feel steeper, the hallways feel longer, and the silence in the living room feels a bit too heavy? Lately, I've been asking myself a very difficult question. Is staying in this house truly an act of independence, or is it an act of fear? Today, I want to share something deeply personal with you. I've realized that I'm ready. I'm ready to move into a nursing home, or as I prefer to call it, a community of care. It wasn't an easy realization, but it was a necessary one. In this series, I want to take you on the journey of how I reached this peace and why this choice might actually be the ultimate gift of freedom. But before we get into the logistics, we have to talk about that first spark of realization, that moment when you look around your living room and realize that the life you're living isn't quite the life you want anymore. And in our next conversation, we'll explore the physical reality that often forces our hand. Looking back at that moment of realization, it's often the small things that hit the hardest. It's not always a big health crisis. Sometimes it's just the way the morning light hits the dust on the bookshelf you can't reach anymore. We talk about aging with dignity, but we rarely talk about the physical exhaustion of just maintaining. The truth is, my body has been whispering to me for a long time, and recently, those whispers turned into a clear voice. I started noticing the hesitation before I stepped into the shower, the way I'd plan my entire day just to avoid going up and down the stairs more than once. Science tells us that our environment should support our needs, but my home was starting to demand more from me than I could give. When the environment you live in becomes a series of obstacles, your world starts to shrink. You stop going to the garden because the grass is uneven. You stop cooking because the pots are too heavy. By choosing a care community, I'm not giving up on my body. I'm choosing an environment that works for me instead of against me. But physical safety is only one piece of the puzzle, because as our physical world shrinks, so does our social one, and that's a weight that's often even heavier to carry. Following that thought of a shrinking world, have you ever noticed how quiet a big house can get? We often stay in our family homes because of the memories, the echoes of laughter from 20 years ago. But echoes don't talk back. You can be surrounded by decades of photos and still feel incredibly alone. Research into longevity always points to one thing above all else: social connection. It's the vitamin for the soul. I realized that by staying home, I was choosing isolation in the name of independence. I was waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for a scheduled visit, living my life in the gaps between other people's busy schedules. In a nursing home, there is a rhythm of life happening right outside your door. There are people to have coffee with, stories to swap, and a sense of belonging that doesn't require a car keys or a long drive. I'm ready to move because I want to be part of a community again. I want to be a neighbor, not just a resident behind a closed door. Yet, even when we crave people, there is still that lingering stress of the stuff we leave behind, the physical burden of a lifetime that we've been taught to protect at all costs. Building on that idea of what we protect, let's talk about the stuff. The roof that needs fixing, the lawn that needs mowing, the endless bills and the clutter in the attic. We call it owning a home, but after a certain point, the home starts to own us. I found myself waking up on Saturdays feeling anxious about a leaky faucet or the overgrown hedges. Is this how I want to spend my precious energy? At this stage of my life, time is my most valuable currency. Every hour I spend worrying about property maintenance is an hour I lose for reading, for reflecting, or for simply being present. Moving to a care facility means handing over the keys to those worries. It means that when something breaks, it's someone else's job to fix it. It's the ultimate outsourcing of stress. I'm choosing to trade square footage for peace of mind. I'm choosing to simplify so that I can amplify what really matters. And one of the biggest things that matters, the thing that weighs most heavily on my heart, is how this decision affects the people I love most.
Thinking about the people we love, we have to be honest about the roles we play. For years, I've been the caregiver, the rock, the one who held it all together. But as I've aged, I've seen a subtle shift in my children's eyes. When they visit, I see them scanning the room for safety hazards. I see them checking the fridge to make sure I'm eating. Our conversations have started to feel like a series of wellness checks. I don't want to be my children's to-do list. I want to be their parent. I want our time together to be about sharing stories, laughing, and enjoying each other's company, not about them helping me change a light bulb or organizing my medication. By moving into a professional care setting, I am reclaiming our relationship. I am taking the caregiver burden off their shoulders so they can just be my family again. It's an act of love to say, I've got this handled, so you don't have to. And having it handled means trusting in professional support, which is a level of security that even the most loving family can't provide 24/7. That security I just mentioned, it's something you can't truly appreciate until you realize you don't have it. We often think of nursing homes only in terms of illness, but I've started to see them in terms of prevention. There is a profound peace in knowing that if I trip or if I feel a sudden chest pain, there is a professional just a button push away. It's about not waiting for the crisis to happen. We wouldn't drive a car without insurance, so why do we try to navigate the complexities of aging without a safety net? Having access to nutritionists, physical therapists, and nurses on site isn't a sign of weakness. It's a smart strategy for a better life. It's about proactive wellness. I'm ready to move because I want the experts on my team. I want to spend less energy worrying about the what if and more energy enjoying the what is. But even with all these practical benefits, there is still a voice in our heads and in society that tells us this is a step backward, a loss of freedom. We've been talking about safety and care, but let's talk about the word freedom. We usually define freedom as the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want. But is it really freedom if you're stuck at home because you're afraid to drive at night? Is it freedom if you can't use your second floor because of your knees? I've realized that my definition of freedom was outdated. Real freedom isn't about having a giant house. It's about having the energy and the opportunity to engage with the world. In a care community, freedom looks like a calendar full of activities I don't have to organize. It looks like transport being provided so I can go to the theater or the park without stress. It's the freedom to learn a new hobby, to join a choir, to finally take that painting class. I'm not moving to a nursing home to end my life. I'm moving there to start a new chapter of it. It's a transition from a life of maintenance to a life of experience. Still, I know what people say. I know the stigma. And it's time we look that stigma right in the eye. It's hard to ignore the whispers, isn't it? The idea that being in a nursing home means you've been put away or that you've given up. We've all heard these horror stories, and we've all felt that pang of pity when we see a senior living facility. But where does that stigma come from? It comes from a culture that fears aging, a culture that values doing over being. We feel a sense of shame for needing help, as if we were supposed to be self-sufficient forever. But the truth is, humans were never meant to be self-sufficient. We are social creatures meant to live in tribes. By choosing this path, I am rejecting the stigma. I am saying that there is no shame in choosing a life that is easier, safer, and more social. I am not a victim of my age. I am a navigator of it. This decision is an act of empowerment, not a surrender.
It's about accepting the reality of change with grace and finding the beauty in the next season, which leads us to a very quiet, very powerful place of peace. As we move through these layers of practical and social reasons, we eventually reach the heart of the matter, the spiritual side of the journey. There is a certain beauty in letting go. When we stop fighting the current of life, we start to float. Moving to a care home is an exercise in essentialism. It's about asking, what do I truly need to be happy? I don't need the attic full of old boxes. I don't need the spare bedroom for guests who rarely stay. I need a comfortable bed, a window with a view, my favorite books, and a heart that is at rest. There is a deep spiritual peace that comes with simplifying your life to its essence. It allows you to focus on the now, on the breath, on the conversation you're having in this very moment. I am ready to move because I am ready to be light. I am ready to let go of the owner identity and embrace the soul identity. This isn't the loss, it's a refinement. And as we reach the end of this reflection, I want to leave you with a few thoughts on how we can all find this lightness, no matter where we live. We have traveled a long way together, from that first realization in a quiet living room to this place of peace and acceptance. If there is one thing I hope you take from my journey, it's that your life is not defined by the four walls around you, but by the quality of the moments you spend within them. Moving to a nursing home isn't about the end, it's about the what's next. It's about making a choice before the choice is made for you. As we wrap up this series on The Lighter Life, I want to offer you 3 simple thoughts to carry with you. First, listen to your body and your home. They will tell you when it's time to change. Second, remember that asking for help is an act of courage, not a sign of failure. And finally, prioritize your relationships over your possessions, because in the end, it's the love we share, not the houses we keep, that remains. Thank you for walking this path with me. I hope my story helps you feel a little braver, a little clearer, and a whole lot lighter. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. This has been Welcome to the Lighter Life. Goodbye for now.